Have you ever wondered how the most beautiful angel in heaven turned into the ultimate grand master of evil? Lucifer's rebellion and the epic war in heaven are one of the most thrilling mysteries of the Holy Scriptures. Lucifer's pride and ambition led him to challenge God's supremacy. This caused a big conflict that shook the foundations of heaven itself. The repercussions and consequences of this rebellion are felt throughout biblical history and continue to affect our world even to this day. Whether you have heard this story before or you are just discovering a tale like this, you will learn more secrets about the story of Lucifer's rebellion, who he was, why he decided to rebel, the epic battle in heaven that involved important figures like Archangel Michael, and what happened to the fallen angels. Lucifer is one of the most interesting but complex characters in the Bible. The name Lucifer means light-bearer or morning star. This name comes from the Latin words lux, which means light, and fere, which means to carry or bring. So Lucifer was created as someone who brought light. This name shows that he was originally a very unique angel in heaven and had a very special purpose. Before his rebellion, Lucifer had a high position in the heaven hierarchy. He was a cherub, which is a type of angel that is highly exalted and very close to God. In fact, he was one of the highest-ranking angels, known for his incredible beauty and wisdom. Lucifer's splendor and wisdom were unmatched in heaven. He had great responsibility and was highly esteemed and honored. Some texts outside the Bible, like the Book of Enoch, describe him as the most beautiful and powerful of all God's creations. He was said to shine brighter than the other angels, and his light symbolized his purity and perfection. Lucifer was not only magnificent in appearance, but also gifted in wisdom and musical abilities. He was also in charge of leading other angels in worshiping and praising God. His wisdom and musical abilities made him perfect for this role. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, from verses 12 to 17, gives a picture of Lucifer as a beautiful and perfect angel, adorned with precious stones and filled with wisdom. Lucifer had many important duties in heaven. One of his main roles was to guard God's throne. Essentially, his responsibility was to protect the holiness, sanctity, and order of heaven. But Lucifer's greatness and extraordinary qualities led to his downfall. Consumed by pride and a desire for more power, he began to covet God's throne. He became very proud and wanted to be like God, and he thought to himself that he could take God's place. This pride and ambition caused him to rebel against God. He convinced some other angels to join him, and they started a war in heaven. This catastrophic war was a huge conflict between the forces of good and evil. Lucifer and his followers fought against God and the loyal angels. The battle was a futile one. Lucifer, along with his followers, thought they could overthrow God and forcefully take his throne, but they were defeated. As a result, Lucifer and his rebel angels were expelled from heaven. They were cast down to earth. Lucifer later became known as Satan, which means adversary or enemy. One of the most famous parts of the Bible that talks about Lucifer is found in Isaiah chapter 14, from verses 12 to 15. This passage paints a vivid picture of how Lucifer fell from heaven. Amazingly, the 12th verse of Isaiah chapter 14 is the only portion of the Bible that addresses Satan as Lucifer. It says, "How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly, on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you were brought down to the realm of the dead, to the depths of the pit." This passage shows Lucifer's incredible pride and ambition, as he wanted to rise above his place and even challenge God. Because of his arrogance, he was thrown down from heaven to earth. Another important passage that talks about Lucifer's fall is Ezekiel chapter 28, verses 12 to 17. It reads, "You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you: carnelian, chrysolite and emerald, topaz, onyx and jasper, lapis lazuli, turquoise and beryl. Your settings and mountings were made of gold. On the day you were created, they were prepared. You were anointed as a guardian cherub, for so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created till wickedness was found in you. Through your widespread trade you were filled with violence, and you sinned. So I drove you in disgrace from the mount of God, and I expelled you, guardian cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth. I made a spectacle of you before kings. While this passage describes the downfall of a proud and beautiful being, which is believed to be Lucifer, some theologians believe that it is actually addressed to the king of Tyre. Nevertheless, this Bible passage describes Lucifer's original beauty and wisdom. It describes him as a perfect and blameless being until his pride leads to his downfall. It shows how his desire for power and his beauty corrupted him, causing him to be expelled from heaven. The story of Lucifer can also be found in texts outside the Bible. Altogether, these texts provide more details about his rebellion. One such text is the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Jewish text that provides more details about the rebellion of angels. It describes a group of angels called the Watchers, who descended to earth, took human wives, and married human women. This union led to the birth of giants called Nephilim, who caused a lot of chaos. One of the main leaders of these fallen angels is often identified with Lucifer. The Book of Enoch later describes how these angels were punished for their actions. The fallen angels were being thrown into a deep abyss until the final judgment. Another set of texts that mention Lucifer is the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha is a collection of ancient writings that are not included in the official or canonical Bible. These writings contain various references to fallen angels and their leader. For example, in the second Esdras, there is a discussion about a fallen angel who led others astray. The Wisdom of Solomon, another book in the Apocrypha, talks about the influence of wicked spirits and the actions of fallen angels like Lucifer. The Pseudepigrapha, a collection of ancient writings, also talks about Lucifer's rebellion. One of these texts is the Book of Jubilees, which discusses the fall of the Watchers and their leader. This book provides more context to Lucifer's story, explaining the consequences of his rebellion and the impact it had on both heaven and earth. These biblical and extra-biblical sources together give us a fuller picture of who Lucifer was, why he rebelled, and what happened as a result of his actions. They tell a story of great beauty and wisdom, corrupted by pride and ambition, leading to a dramatic fall and eternal consequences. Through these stories, we learn about the dangers of pride and the importance of humility and obedience to God. Lucifer's rebellion against God is one of the most dramatic and powerful stories in the Bible. It all started with his pride and desire for power. Lucifer was an incredibly beautiful and wise angel who was often considered the most magnificent of all God's creations. He had a high position in heaven and was a guardian cherub, which means he was very close to God. Not only that, he was adorned with precious stones and was perfect in beauty and wisdom. But Lucifer's high status and beauty led him to become prideful. This pride planted the seeds of rebellion in his heart. Lucifer's ambition didn't stop at self-admiration. He started to think very highly of himself and believed he deserved more power. Lucifer began to see himself as equal to, or even greater than, God. This pride planted the seeds of rebellion in his heart. He wanted to rise above his place and become the ruler of heaven. Lucifer's ambition didn't stop at self-admiration. He wanted to take God's place. He desired to ascend to the heavens, raise his throne above the stars of God, and sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly. In other words, Lucifer wanted to be like God and rule over everything both in the heavens and on the earth. This overwhelming desire for power and control was the driving force behind his rebellion. The war in heaven is one of the most dramatic and intense events described in the Bible. It all started when Lucifer, the most beautiful and powerful angel, let his pride and ambition get the best of him. He wanted to take over heaven and become like God. To do this, he needed support, so he began to persuade other angels to join his cause. Many angels were impressed by Lucifer's beauty and power and decided to follow him. These angels became known as the fallen angels. On the other side were the loyal angels, those who remained faithful to God. They were led by Archangel Michael, a powerful and courageous angel, known for his loyalty and strength. As tensions grew, a great battle broke out in heaven between Lucifer's followers and God's loyal angels. This battle is often referred to as the war in heaven. The fight was fierce and intense. The fallen angels, led by Lucifer, fought with all their might to overthrow God and take control of heaven. They believed that they could win and become the rulers of the universe. However, they underestimated the power and determination of the loyal angels. The loyal angels fought bravely to defend heaven and uphold God's authority. The clash between the two sides shook the very foundations of heaven. Archangel Michael played a crucial role in the war in heaven. He is often depicted as a mighty warrior, standing against the forces of evil with unwavering courage. Michael is known as the leader of God's army of loyal angels. His name means "who is like God," which shows his humility and devotion to God. During the battle, Michael led the charge against Lucifer and his followers. He rallied the loyal angels and inspired them to fight with all their strength. Michael's leadership was instrumental in the battle. He confronted Lucifer directly, engaging him in a fierce and epic showdown. Michael's strength, bravery, and unwavering faith in God gave the loyal angels the edge they needed to overcome the fallen angels. Other key figures in the battle included Gabriel, another powerful archangel known as God's messenger. Gabriel supported Michael and played a significant role in mobilizing the loyal angels and fighting against the rebellion. Raphael, the archangel of healing, also participated in the battle, using his powers to support and strengthen the loyal angels. Despite the ferocity of the fallen angels, the loyal angels, under Michael's leadership, eventually gained the upper hand. The fallen angels were no match for the combined might and righteousness of Michael and his forces. As the battle reached its climax, Michael was able to defeat Lucifer, casting him and his followers out of heaven. Michael and other loyal angels won the fight without needing to get God involved, despite the fierceness of the battle. The defeated fallen angels, including Lucifer, were expelled from heaven and cast down to earth. This event may have marked the end of the war in heaven, but it was just the beginning of Lucifer's story as Satan, the adversary of God and humanity. No matter how powerful and persuasive evil may seem, it will ultimately be defeated by those who stand firm in their faith and righteousness. The consequences for Lucifer and the fallen angels were severe and lasting. Once expelled from heaven, their entire nature and existence changed. Lucifer, who had been a beautiful and wise angel, a light bearer, became Satan, the embodiment of evil and darkness. His pride and desire for power had led to his ultimate downfall, and he was no longer the radiant light bearer, but rather a symbol of rebellion and sin. Satan fell from grace along with his followers. The fallen angels, who had followed Lucifer in his rebellion, also faced dire consequences. They lost their places in heaven and were stripped of their beauty and purity. These angels, now demons, became agents of chaos and evil. They were no longer welcome in the divine presence of God and were condemned to roam the earth to spread their influence and continue their opposition to God and his plans. On earth, Satan and his demons sought to corrupt humanity and lead people away from God. Their goal was to undermine God's creation and spread sin and darkness. This mission became a central part of their existence, as they could no longer enjoy the peace and beauty of heaven. Instead, they were consumed by their hatred and desire for revenge against God and his loyal angels. The light and beauty that once defined Lucifer were replaced by a corrupt and evil spirit, intent on spreading sin and destruction. After his fall, Satan's role in biblical narratives is that of a tempter, deceiver, and accuser. He actively works to lead humanity away from God and into sin. One of the most well-known stories involving Satan is the temptation of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Disguised as a serpent, Satan deceived Eve into eating the forbidden fruit, leading to the first sin and the fall of mankind. This act of deception set the stage for Satan's ongoing efforts to corrupt humanity and oppose God's plans. In the book of Job, Satan appears as the accuser. He challenges Job's faithfulness to God, claiming that Job is only righteous because of his blessings. God allows Satan to test Job by taking away his possessions, health, and family. Despite the severe trials, Job remained faithful. True faith, like the type of faith demonstrated by Job, can withstand even the most challenging temptations. Satan's influence is also evident in the New Testament. In the Gospels, Satan tempts Jesus in the wilderness, offering him all the kingdoms of the world in exchange for worship. Jesus resists these temptations, reaffirming his commitment to God. This encounter shows Satan's persistent efforts to undermine God's work, even attempting to lead Jesus astray. Additionally, Satan is described as the ruler of this world and the prince of the power of the air, indicating his significant but temporary influence over the earth. He uses this power to spread lies, deception, and sin, striving to turn people away from God. His ultimate goal is to thwart God's plan for salvation and redemption. Despite his efforts, Satan's defeat is assured. The Bible foretells his final judgment and destruction. In the book of Revelation, it is prophesied that Satan will be bound for 1,000 years, then released for a short time before being cast into the lake of fire, where he will be tormented forever. This final judgment emphasizes the ultimate triumph of God over evil and the complete eradication of Satan's influence. Revelation chapter 20, verses 1-3 reads, "And I saw an angel coming down out of heaven, having the key to the abyss, and holding in his hand a great chain. He seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He threw him into the abyss and locked and sealed it over him, to keep him from deceiving the nations anymore until the 1,000 years were ended. After that, he must be set free for a short time." In verses 7-10 of the same chapter it says, "When the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and to gather them for battle. In number they are like the sand on the seashore. They marched across the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of God's people, the city he loves. But fire came down from heaven and devoured them, and the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever." The expulsion from heaven also meant that Lucifer and the fallen angels were destined for ultimate judgment. According to biblical prophecy, they will face final punishment at the end of time. They will be cast into the lake of fire, a place of eternal torment, where they will be completely and permanently separated from God. This final judgment underscores the severity of their rebellion and the lasting consequences of their actions. The story of Lucifer's fall has been interpreted in various ways by theologians and religious scholars over the centuries. One common interpretation is that Lucifer's fall serves as a powerful lesson about the dangers of pride and the consequences of trying to go beyond one's rightful place. In Christian theology, pride is often seen as the root of all sin, and Lucifer's story is the ultimate example of how pride can lead to a complete downfall. It shows that even the most beautiful and powerful beings can fall if they become too proud and ambitious. Another interpretation focuses on the concept of free will. Lucifer, like all angels, was created with free will. This is the ability to choose between good and evil. His choice to rebel against God highlights the significance of free will and the responsibilities that come with it. It shows that even beings created in perfection can choose to do wrong. This interpretation teaches us that we all have the power to make choices, and those choices have consequences. Lucifer's fall is sometimes viewed as a cosmic struggle between good and evil. His rebellion and subsequent expulsion from heaven symbolize the ongoing battle between these two forces. This interpretation underscores the idea that evil, while powerful and persuasive, is ultimately defeated by good. The defeat of Lucifer and his followers demonstrates God's ultimate power and justice. It shows that no matter how strong evil seems, good will always triumph in the end. Some theologians also see Lucifer's fall as a part of God's greater plan. They suggest that the presence of evil and the fall of Lucifer were allowed by God to bring about a greater understanding of goodness, justice, and redemption. This perspective offers a broader view of the struggle between good and evil, suggesting that it serves to highlight God's mercy and the eventual triumph of good. It teaches us that even bad events can have a purpose and lead to something good in the grand scheme of things. We have seen how pride and ambition led to Lucifer's fall from grace. Sadly, pride has led to the downfall of several great people in our world today. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story and any other topics you'd like us to cover. Leave a comment below and share your insights or questions. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about other fascinating biblical stories and mysteries, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support encourages me to bring more insightful and engaging content to you. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more captivating stories and mysteries from the Bible.